Hello, this is part 5 of the GM 8L90 video series, and in this video I'm going to talk about torque converter operation. The 8L90 converter is a little bit of a different converter than most that you'll see out there. It is about $400 if you get it from the dealer, and one of the things that makes it unique is it's got a double-sided or a dual-sided friction plate that's in there that's kind of captured. And we've got a dampener, what they call a dual dampener. Now, I don't have one apart to show you. I don't have an actual 8L90 converter laying around, but the late model units, which are still about $400, they also have a device in there. It's called a pendulum, and it's there because it needs to it helps dampen out the vibrations caused by the vehicle going into active or dynamic fuel management. And it is a challenging converter to rebuild for the aftermarket, and it's because of the way it's constructed. Here's the construction of this converter. We can see the cover. That's what's bolted up to the flex plate of the engine. This is the friction disc. This is the hydraulic piston that applies the force to that friction disc. And this is what makes it difficult for the aftermarket to rebuild. In order to get this assembly apart right here, there's like rivets and so forth that connect this hydraulic piston to the cover. And it's difficult to deal with because it's the way they manufacture this torque converter. They kind of use a stamping process to create these rivets just out of the metal that they're made out of. And when you cut those off, you've got to go back with something. So the aftermarket, I know, is dealing with it, but it is one of those things that is kind of a challenge for the aftermarket to the torque converter rebuilders to go through and rebuild these units. And you have to take this apart in order to not only clean it out, but also to get to that friction disc so you can change that assembly out. This is that damper assembly. It's used to kind of dampen the vibrations that occur between the engine and the turbine. We've got our turbine. This is the typical converter stuff here: turbine, stator, and impeller. You can see everything in colors here are alike. So everything kind of in this pinkish color is connected to the turbine. Everything that's green is going to be connected to the cover, which is ultimately bolted up to the engine. And then our stator kind of lives all alone by itself in blue. Poor thing. So how does this all work? Well, here's our little chain of events or chain of command that we've got here. We've got the transmission control module. It's controlling a solenoid. That solenoid has a little accumulator, these tiny pulse accumulators that we've seen in some of the other videos. They dampen out the action of the solenoid, because that solenoid, when it generates pressure, it's going to find its way over to a valve, the torque converter clutch control valve. That's going to control the amount of pressure that's going to end up going into the lockup side to apply the torque converter clutch. That's why it kind of finds its way through various valves before it gets there, but this is the general layout and function and operation of what's going on as far as torque converter clutch control is concerned. Now, hydraulically, this image right here shows two states. We've got the torque converter clutch in the release position and torque converter clutch in the apply position. This is a typical two-path torque converter, which means I have two fluid paths going into the converter. When I'm delivering fluid between the converter piston and the front cover, it releases the piston. It kind of pushes the piston away from the cover, so all the fluid entering in, it can't be in the apply mode, because all that fluid entering in is going to find its way out, find its way into the cooler circuits, and so forth. Now, when they want the converter clutch to apply, they reverse that direction. And now, like you can see in this image right here, fluid's coming in from this side, and when pressure builds up on the transmission side of the converter piston, it's going to drift that piston over towards the cover. When it comes into contact, it's going to block off its return passage, and then I've got the converter clutch applied. So I've just locked that piston to the cover. So that's the reason why it's a two-path converter. When fluid's going between the cover and the piston, it's in release mode. And when fluid's on the turbine side of the piston, it's in apply mode. And the valve that's in charge of that is the converter control valve. So this basically controls whether we're in the apply or the release position. Now right here, I've got all the different valves that are responsible for proper torque converter operation. And even though on this image right now, we are only seeing a solenoid, a torque converter clutch control valve, a converter control valve, and the torque converter itself, we've got all these other valves that are responsible for proper torque converter operation. The pressure regulator, ultimately it provides the pressure not only to the whole transmission, but also to the converter. We've got a torque converter control valve, which we're looking at here, so that's listed. The converter control valve, which is also listed. But we also have a converter feed limit valve, and we'll see more on that later because that is a wear point in this valve body. But it's basically a pressure regulator, a limit valve for the torque converter. And then we have a converter fault valve, which is not drawn up here, not shown. And that's basically there to ensure that the torque converter clutch doesn't stay applied when there's a fault or an issue. We don't want a converter to stay applied so that way when we come to a stop, it stalls the engine. We've got this lube flow valve that actually receives this converter fluid pressure, but under situations of high line pressure, they're going to kind of clamp off that lube flow. So that's in line with this converter fluid circuits. So even though it's not directly related to torque converter operation, since it's fed with converter fluid, it could cause problems. And lastly, AFL. Even though it doesn't directly feed the torque converter solenoid with pressure, the torque converter is fed with line pressure. But the AFL influences so many other areas, things like the line pressure regulator and all that kind of stuff, that AFL does influence converter indirectly, as well as other things like shifts and so forth. So if we were to look at just generically how this torque converter clutch operates, you can see we're fed line pressure to the solenoid, and that fluid finds its way through the solenoid and fills this circuit that we've got here, this S7 VFS signal circuit. So this is the signal circuit from the torque converter clutch control solenoid that finds its way over to the torque converter clutch control valve to manipulate it and ultimately control the pressure going to the torque converter clutch apply circuit. And also it finds its way over here and shuttles over that converter control valve. This is the valve responsible for switching it between the apply and release position. And yet this is the valve that's responsible for determining how hard this applies. Now, if you look, the way it's drawn, it's got like line pressure going to it, and then it changes to this little dotted apply pressure. Really, the pressure doesn't change through here. All the pressure change is occurring through this portion here, this torque converter clutch control. They just happen to be showing it fully stroked, allowing full line pressure to go in there. But it can regulate and manipulate the pressure at this point to change the torque converter apply pressure to whatever it needs. So if you imagine, as they duty cycle, this is a normally low solenoid, so as they energize it, they're going to pass fluid through, and as they pass fluid through and generate pressure in this torque converter clutch signal circuit here, it's going to start moving this valve over up against spring force. It's going to let line pressure into the apply circuit. Just like our clutch regulator valves, there's a hole drilled through the middle of this valve assembly. So as it lets fluid in, that fluid that it lets in finds its way to the end of the valve, and we'll try and work with that spring to try to push this valve back closed. And once it's closed, it's going to take more pressure from the solenoid to shuttle it back over and let more line pressure into that torque converter clutch apply circuit. So it's always a balance between what the solenoid's creating on this side and whatever pressure is finding its way into the circuit, plus that spring force. It's working, they're working against each other to limit the amount of pressure that gets into the torque converter clutch apply circuit. But once that torque converter clutch is supposed to be applied and it's got that nice smooth application, everything's good as gold, they can energize, they can turn the solenoid pretty much fully on, at least as far on as they'll turn it, put full pressure over here and let full line pressure and basically apply that torque converter with the full line pressure. And as we can see, that fluid finds its way through the torque converter clutch apply, finds its way through that converter control valve since it's in the apply position, goes between the stator and the torque converter hub, and fills up on the turbine side of this converter piston. That's the converter piston right there, kind of in white. So that pressure builds all up on this side because that friction material, once it seats and makes contact with the cover, kind of creates a seal. There's grooves cut in it, so some of that fluid will still find its way out and it's kind of sneak through. And when you look where it goes, it kind of travels itself around and just kind of bleeds out, leaks out through an orifice. So that's the purpose of this converter control valve. When it shuttles over, it's going to direct the apply pressure to the turbine side of the piston and open up the release pressure to basically drain off. So what are the issues and complaints that this torque converter has? Well, number one by far is shudder. This transmission's been plagued with shuddering complaints. And early on, when this transmission came out, 2015, 2016, 2017, all these early years, they were using this black labeled fluid right here. And what they didn't know is that it was slightly hygroscopic, which means it can absorb moisture from the air. And then once it absorbed enough moisture, that affected the frictions in this transmission adversely, especially in the torque converter, and that created a shudder problem. So what's the fix? Flush it out. You go with the blue label. It's still the Mobil 1 synthetic LV ATF HP. Still the same fluid, it's just not the black bottle. You want the blue bottle. So make sure if you're buying that, you're getting the latest and greatest fluid for it. And when you flush that fluid out, you can't just drain and refill what's in the pan. You actually need to operate the vehicle, and some people will disconnect the cooler line, pour it in, and then let it pump it out into the bucket, go through a bunch, like 15, 18 quarts. Some people will have the machine, the actual flush machines, where it'll exchange it. You still hook up to a cooler line, but as it's pumping it out, it's pumping the fresh stuff in. But the idea is to get as much of the black labeled stuff out so you can replace it with the blue labeled stuff. That alone fixes quite a few of these shudder complaints on the vehicles. So it's a fluid issue on those. Now, if you did that, and you might need to drive it a little bit, most vehicles actually is within the test drive right after you're done, it's markedly better. But if it's still got that shudder complaint, still got that issue after a couple hundred miles of driving, you're likely going to need a torque converter, and you're going to want to focus on anything that has to do with sealing off those circuits internally in the transmission. Apparently early on, the torque converters actually had a seal on the inside that separated the input shaft from the turbine and kept the fluids from intermixing, the apply and the release side from intermixing, and those seals failed. But like I said, I think that was early 2015 units. They actually solved that from the factory, and the newer units won't have that issue. This fluid came out 2018, 2019 or so. So earlier vehicles, the 2015, 2016, 2017, if you've got shudder issues and you haven't had that fluid flush, that's something that you're going to want to have done. If you've got the later model units, the 2019, 2020, 21, there's a good chance it already came from the factory with the good stuff. So if you've got shudder complaints, it's probably something else. So in this video right here, I show how the converter feed limit valve operates, kind of go through and study it a little bit, and then I talk about the spring tensions and forces that are on it, and then we look at a Sonnax modification because they found that that area wears, and if you wear that area, you're going to lose torque converter pressure. So this valve living in that bore, pressure is going to come in through that tiny little hole, get to the end of this valve, and push off, and it'll move this valve over until this land blocks off the passageway between the converter feed and line pressure. And this dimension right here, from where that spring sits to where the little bracket that holds it in, that dimension is the amount of force that that spring is going to exert. So if I measure that, I'm going to say it's about 155 thousandths of an inch. So it's 155 thousandths of an inch, but I'm going to need to subtract the thickness of that little bracket plate, which is 80 thousandths. So using that math, this spring is going to compress to 975 thousandths of an inch, and that amount of force is going to be what's pushing this valve over. I'm going to build up enough pressure across this surface area to overcome that force before it will limit the amount of pressure going to the torque converter. And hope that this thing doesn't shoot out and kill somebody. All right, so my spring is compressed at 18.7, we'll call it 18.75 pounds of force. Now looking at the surface area, the end of this valve is about 353 thousandths of an inch in diameter. So doing the math, this valve, when it's stroked into its regulating position, compressing the spring to about 975 thousandths of an inch, and it's exerting about 18.75 pounds on the end of this valve, it's going to require 191-ish PSI to stroke that valve into that position and cut itself off. So according to my math, which is starting to question, and I don't know, this converter feed limit doesn't actually limit it until it's about upwards to 190 PSI. That seems pretty high for a torque converter. But hey, let's see what the Sonnax valve equates to. Maybe that'll shed a little different light. Now the Sonnax valve, as I'm now calling Baby Groot because it looks like a little Baby Groot, trademark. You can tell that they're replacing any worn out valve body bore with this portion of the valve, and they've built the valve to work within this sleeve out of a higher quality, higher grade aluminum. But the function's still going to be the same, but since my surface areas are going to be so much smaller, they provide their own spring, which is going to have less tension. But it looks like the regulating position on it is going to be right around in that spot right there. It's where it closes itself off. So with their bushing installed, I can still get about an 18 to 20 thousandths feeler gauge between the bushing and my little retainer. So I'll have to take that into consideration when I'm doing this math. So even though there's a little bit of clearance between the retaining plate and this bushing, I don't even know if I really need to take that into consideration, because once pressure's in here, it's probably going to push that sleeve towards that retaining plate. Then it looks like it's going to move this valve to its regulating position, which is about there. So the compressed spring is really going to be from the end of the valve to the edge of this bushing. And that's the measurement that we'll use to figure out how much tension they're putting on this valve. Using my dial caliper and playing tug of war with this thing, pushing it in right about there is when it cuts itself off. I'm right at about 900 thousandths of an inch. It's either 890, between 890 and 900 thousandths. So it looks like at 895 thousandths of an inch, that's its regulating spot. So we're going to go ahead and put this on that spring force gauge, and we're going to see at 895 thousandths how much force this spring can generate and push on the end of this valve. Damn. Okay. It looks like at 895 thousandths, we're right at about 11.5 pounds of force. So doing the math on this converter regulator valve, the surface area right here is 272 thousandths of an inch in diameter. And when you do the math and figure that out, that comes out to be 0.058 thousandths of a square inch. It's pretty small. So of course they had to go through and adjust the spring tension. So when you go through and calculate that surface area, 0.058, divide that into the 11.5 pounds of force that we were getting on the spring when it was in its regulating position, you got 198 psi. So this converter regulator is regulating at about 198 psi, according to my calculations, give or take 100 psi or so. I don't know. No, but yeah, so it looks like they're trying to maintain pretty much the same converter limit pressure that was OE. You know, it's within 5% or so. So that's probably my calculation error right there. All right, well that's about all I've got with this 8L90 torque converter as far as the operation is concerned. In this video we learned about the unique design that this converter has with that piston that's capturing that double-sided friction. We also looked at all the different valves that are responsible for the torque converter operation. They've got quite a few in this transmission that have influence over the torque converter circuits. And we also looked at the updated fluid. There's that blue label fluid is what you'll want to use on those 8L90 units. And if you've got an earlier unit, you definitely want to go through and change that out. And then the aftermarket, looked at the valves that they have. Now what I didn't talk about, I talked about the converter limit valve that Sonnax provides, but they also provide a pressure regulator valve or a clutch regulator valve for the torque converter clutch circuit. It's the same as the one they use on all the other clutches. I've covered that in the other videos. So if you look at those other videos, you can get an idea of what they're trying to cure and fix related to the torque converter clutch circuit. So hopefully you got something off of this. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to comment below. Thank you. And don't forget to watch the next video, part 6, on the 7-part series, which is rebuilding particulars. And in that video, I'm going to cover all the things that you're going to want to look out for when you're rebuilding this transmission.